Welcome to Books and Bytes, where books get smarter and learning gets faster. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating novel, Mikhail Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita. It's a book that throws you into 1930s Moscow, but then takes a sharp turn into biblical Jerusalem. We've got the devil strolling around a society of atheists, a love story that defies the odds, and honestly, just a whole lot of wildness.
What's really intriguing about this book is the way Bulgakov blends all these elements. It's satire, it's fantasy, it's philosophical, and it all comes together in this way that just grabs you.
It definitely does. One of the first things that struck me was, well, the way Bulgakov sets up this sense of duality right from the start. You got these two distinct settings and time periods. 1930s Moscow and Jerusalem during Pontius Pilate's time. But they both unfold over the exact same 5 days, Wednesday to Sunday. That can't be a coincidence, right?
It's too precise to be random. Like, he's deliberately mirroring these two worlds, showing us how events and choices echo across time and space. And that mirroring extends to Bulgakov himself. He burned early drafts of this novel, struggled with censorship, very similar to what the master character goes through in the story.
Wow, that's a really interesting connection. It makes you wonder if writing The Master and Margarita was Bulgakov's own way of finding freedom in a world that was trying to silence him.
It's certainly a powerful possibility. And speaking of silencing, let's talk about the Moscow storyline. Bulgakov doesn't hold back in his satire of the literary elite, this group called Masselit.
Yeah, Masselit. They're basically the official writers' union, but Bulgakov paints them as this incredibly corrupt and self-serving bunch. They're more interested in climbing the social ladder and towing the party line than in creating real art.
Exactly. He portrays them as greedy, hypocritical, and utterly disconnected from the true spirit of creativity. It's a biting commentary on the state of art and literature under a totalitarian regime.
And it makes you think, are things really that different today? I mean, sure, we might not have official censorship in the same way, but there are always those who try to control narratives and silence dissenting voices.
That's a really important point. The forms of control may change, but the struggle for artistic freedom and the temptation to compromise for power or recognition, those are human constants.
And then there's that whole scene with the magic show. It starts off almost lighthearted, but quickly descends into this chaotic free-for-all. People are grabbing money that turns into insects. Their clothes are vanishing. It's like Bulgakov is peeling back a layer of society and showing us this primal chaos lurking beneath.
It's a brilliant way to expose human nature under pressure. Suddenly confronted with temptation and the promise of easy wealth, people abandon all pretense of civility. It's a stark reminder of how easily we can succumb to our baser instincts. And let's not forget the characters who drive this chaos. Woland and his entourage. A talking cat. A hitman with a penchant for mischief. A grotesquely charming valet. They're like a twisted funhouse mirror, reflecting the absurdity of it all.
They definitely add to the wild ride. But they're not just there for laughs, are they? Each of them seems to play a specific role in exposing the hypocrisies and weaknesses of the people they encounter.
Exactly. They act as catalysts, pushing people to reveal their true natures. And it's through their interactions that Bulgakov's satire becomes even sharper.
So we've got this chaotic, satirical Moscow storyline, but then there's this other layer, the Jerusalem story. It's like a novel within a novel written by the master himself. And Bulgakov's take on the story of Jesus, or Yeshua HaNatzri, as he's called here, isn't quite what you'd expect.
It's a very humanized portrayal. Bulgakov strips away the miracles and focuses on Yeshua's philosophy of love, compassion, and forgiveness. He's kind even to his torturers, which makes his message even more powerful.
And then you have Pontius Pilate, who's not the typical villain you might expect. He's suffering from these terrible migraines. Seems more concerned with his dog than with this man he's supposed to be judging. It makes him oddly relatable, doesn't it?
It does. By humanizing Pilate, Bulgakov allows us to see the complexities of his position. He's caught between his conscience, his duty, and the political pressures of the time. It raises questions about the burden of power and the compromises people in authority often have to make.
And then there's Margarita, the master's lover. Talk about a woman who makes bold choices. She's fiercely devoted to the master and his work, which has been rejected by the literary establishment, and she ends up making a deal with the devil himself to try and save him. What drives her to take such an extreme path?
It's her unwavering love for the master and his art. She sees his genius, his suffering, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to protect him and his work, even if it means sacrificing her own soul.
And that path leads her to become the hostess of Satan's ball. What an image. You've got historical figures from hell, unimaginable spectacles, pure chaos, and Margarita navigating it all with a surprising amount of grace and strength.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition. She's in this world of darkness and depravity, Yet she maintains a certain dignity throughout the ordeal. It makes you question whether she's a pawn in Woland's game, or a powerful figure in her own right.
There's this one line from Woland that really stuck with me. Manuscripts don't burn. It's such a simple statement, but it's layered with meaning. It's about the enduring power of ideas, the futility of censorship, and maybe even a reflection on Bulgakov's own experience.
Absolutely. Bulgakov himself burned early drafts of the Master and Margarita. It's as if the book itself had to fight for its existence. And that line speaks to the resilience of art, the idea that truth can't be truly destroyed even if it's suppressed.
And it makes you wonder about the impact of suppression. Does it really silence ideas, or does it just make them more potent in the long run?
It's an intriguing question. Look at the book itself. It was banned in the USSR for years, but that didn't stop it from becoming a cult classic later on.
It's almost like the book itself mirrors the master's manuscript, suppressed, hidden away, but ultimately finding its way into the world. And its reach extends beyond literature. Even rock bands like the Rolling Stones and Pearl Jam have been inspired by it.
That's a testament to its universal themes. It speaks to the human condition in a way that transcends time and place.
It really does make you think about what makes a work of art enduring. Is the themes, the characters, the way it captures the human experience. What do you think is the key to the Master and Margarita's lasting impact?
I think it's a combination of factors. It's the way Bulgakov weaves together humor and tragedy, satire and philosophy. It's the unforgettable characters, the fantastical elements, and the way he tackles timeless questions about good and evil, freedom and oppression.
And what about for our listener who's been with us on this deep dive into Bulgakov's world? Why should they care about a book written almost a century ago in a vastly different political and social context?
Because the questions Bulgakov raises are still relevant today. We're still grappling with issues of censorship, artistic freedom, the nature of truth, and the novel's exploration of love betrayal. And the choices we make in the face of difficult circumstances, those are universal themes that resonate across time and cultures.
Absolutely. It's a book that makes you think, makes you feel,
Yeah.
and stays with you long after you've finished reading it. Now it's time for our takeaways. I was personally struck by Margarita's unwavering devotion to the master. It's a love story that goes beyond romance. It's about believing in someone supporting your dreams, even when the world turns against them.
I love that you brought that up. Her love for him and his work fuels her actions throughout the novel. It's a powerful force that ultimately helps the master find redemption.
There's one quote from Margarita that I just can't shake. Follow me, reader. Who is it that told you that true, faithful love perishes from this world? It's such a defiant statement, a testament to the enduring power of love, even in the face of darkness and despair.
That's a beautiful choice. For me, the takeaway is about the power of art to transcend boundaries. Even though The Master and Margarita was written in a specific time and place, its message about the importance of creative expression, the struggle against censorship, and the search for truth resonates universally. And one quote that captures this perfectly is Woland's. What would your good do if evil didn't exist? It makes you consider the duality of our world, the constant tension between light and shadow.
That's so true. You can't have one without the other. And Bulgakov explores that tension brilliantly. So for our listener who's now thoroughly intrigued by this wild, fantastical, philosophical ride that is The Master and Margarita, what would you say to encourage them to dive into the book themselves?
I'd say go in with an open mind and a sense of adventure. Be prepared to be surprised, challenged, and ultimately deeply moved by Bulgakov's masterpiece.
And don't be intimidated by the fact that it's a classic. It's witty, it's engaging, and it'll stay with you long after you've turned the final page. If you're ready to embark on this literary adventure, you can grab a copy of The Master and Margarita from the link in the description.
And be sure to subscribe to Books and Bytes for more deep dives into captivating and thought-provoking books.
Until next time, happy reading.